2015 Audi A3 2.0T with the quattro all-wheel drive system. Now, if you've watched already our Audi A3 video that we did before this, we covered a lot of technology features, kind of build and driveline options, pricing, that sort of thing. So we really encourage you to watch that first. This is really just going to kind of recap. We've got a car here that's equipped with more options, so we'll hit some of the highlights, and then we'll also take it for a drive, so you can kind of get a feeling of what it's like behind the wheel. So let's start with the S-Line package. The S-Line package includes the gloss grille right here, the S-Line badging, of course, a more aggressive front bumper, these side sills that run down the length of the car where they're kind of flared out here a little bit more, a different rear bumper that has this more aggressive rear valance with kind of the honeycomb texture, and these aluminum door sills right here with the S-Line badging on it as well. You'll see that on the quarter panel, you've got the S-Line badge here. The overall package is designed to be a little bit lower to the ground looking, a little bit more aggressive, and basically just a little sharper all the way around. This particular car also has the Sport package. And the Sport package means that it's a little bit lower. The suspension is about 15 millimeters down. It comes with these sport seats inside, which are really amazing. My favorite thing about them is that they have the adjustable thigh bolsters right here. So this part will actually slide forward and backward and really get right into the back of your knee, so it's nice and snug. Bolstered sides to the seat, so it really holds you in when you're going side to side. And one thing that I really like that they've added is this new headrest system that actually slides out forward and back. It's very similar to the ones that's found on the A6 and on the A8. So super comfortable with the sport seats as part of the Sport package. The other thing that comes in the Sport package is Audi Drive Select, and we're going to get to that a little bit later when we get on the road. But pound for pound, this particular A3 that we have with us is about $42,000, $43,000, and it has almost every single option that's on it. So let's take a look at the window sticker quickly, but before we do that, let's cover how these cars are equipped. Audi basically has made 3 trim levels for the vehicle: Premium, Premium Plus, and Prestige. The Prestige trim includes everything that Premium Plus has, and the Premium Plus, of course, includes everything that Premium has. So it's basically a way to group all of the options together and kind of include everything. There are 2 base prices on the car, $29,900 for the 1.8 front-wheel drive, and on this particular car, you'll see that the base price is $32,900 because it's a 2.0T and because it has the quattro all-wheel drive system. So quattro, the only way to get it is with a 2.0. There's no other way. The S-tronic system is that dual clutch gearbox. You'll see it on the 1.8 and the 2.0. So there is a small pricing difference between the 1.8 and the 2.0. As you can see, the Prestige trim includes all of these things, but specifically the LED headlights. Now these are full LED headlights as opposed to just LED daytime running lights. They're only available in the Prestige trim, so if that's really what you want, make sure that you opt up for the Prestige. Fuel economy on the car is 27 combined, 24 for the city, 33 for the highway on the 2.0. Now with the 1.8, the city is actually 1 point less, so it's 23. The cars are pretty equivalent. So it's not a big change to go up to the quattro all-wheel drive system, whereas typically with a quattro car, you lose a point across the board. In this case, it's actually a little bit better. So of course, the Audi A3 comes with the LED daytime running lights, and it's this blade that you see right here. The full LED lights, which I am totally thrilled about, are actually these. Let me turn them on for you. Instead of the dual xenon headlights, which you see in the standard vehicle, the actual headlight beams, low and high, are full LEDs. Now, the reason it's so cool is the light is so crisp. It's like super bright, bright, bright white, and it's like daylight. When you see it on the road and you're driving at night, it's really incredible. Let's also take a look around the back and take a look at the LED taillights. So, same idea, where they're very, very crisp. They have like this blade kind of look to them. They look really, really, really sharp in the dark. So we covered this in our first video, but I wanted to expand a little bit on the trunk on the A3. So there are two ways into it, either by using the trunk button that's on the key, or by using the soft touch button that's under the trunk lip, located right next to the backup camera. So the trunk is spring loaded, so it pops open by itself, which is nice. And it has a couple of amenities which I appreciate. First, the little grocery bag hook right here. If you have, like, let's say one bag that has a carton of eggs in it that you don't want flying around the trunk while you're zipping through the curves, you can kind of suspend it so it stays off. That's nice. Also in this corner is a little tray for handy items such as your measuring tape, which we'll use to see our trunk dimensions. So opening wise, it's about 37 inches wide. It's about 17 or 18 inches tall, and about 36, 37 inches deep. So as you can see, the trunk is ample and has some good options for cargo. Now, let's say you're skiing or snowboarding, you want to take it up to the mountains. There's a pass-through that's optional on the car that lets you put your skis or your snowboard all the way through and still have passengers on the side, or you can fold the seats down in a 60-40 split. Let me demonstrate that for you real quick. So here's the pass-through option and the 60-40 split. So you can see that these seats do fold down nice and flat. If you have large items that you need to carry along with you, it works just fine. There is one accessory you can find in our parts department. It is a cargo net that actually, if you see these chrome D-rings here and also here in the corners, will hook on, and it's a kind of like elastic and holds things down. Audi does offer also a soft cargo box, which is basically like a organizer that kind of folds open and velcros down to the carpet. So backseat space is always the concern with a compact car, right? We just had our friend Brian, who's 6'2", configure his front seat the way that he would as if he was driving it. Now, I am a lesser 5'8", but I can still fit in the back seat pretty comfortably. As you can see, I still have some space in front of my knees. These cutouts here in the front seats give me just a little bit of room. Also, I like the way that Audi has kind of cut away the headliner so that there's plenty of headspace for me. I'm not saying that I want to be back here for a 12-hour road trip, but if we're going around the corner to go see the movies or something like that, it's really not so bad. Driver ergonomics on the A3 are quite comfortable. What I like about it is that everything is power. So with the convenience package or the prestige trim, you'll see that they have power heated mirrors that also fold in when you turn them around backwards. Then power 12-way seats that are also available on the passenger side, which is super comfortable. What I like is they have a 4-way lumbar control system. So as you can see from the small wheel down here, you can control the lumbar in and out, up and down, and then based on whether you're moving the seat back or the seat base, these can also be tilted up and down to really make it quite comfortable. Let me jump in there for just a second. And I go to configure myself here. You can set it up quite nicely, and of course also adjust, tilt, and push the steering wheel in and out just to make it perfect. So when equipped, the A3 comes with the Audi Advanced Key. So this key is designed to live in your pocket or purse and let you have access to the car to start it with the push button, right? And then when you get to where you're going and you're all done, jump out, close it up, and lock the doors. Just that easy. Let's talk about entertainment for a second. The standard system is 180 watts and 10 speakers. You can opt for the upgraded Bang & Olufsen system. Now, the reason to do that is it bumps it up to 705 watts and a 14 speaker system, and it sounds crystal clear. Remember, the A3 comes with two engine options, the 1.8T, which produces 170 horsepower, 199 foot-pounds of torque, or the 2.0T, which is also a turbocharged engine. 220 horses, 258 foot-pounds of torque, married to the quattro all-wheel drive system through that dual clutch transmission, which is incredibly fast shifting. It makes a shift in about 0.2 seconds, which is unbelievable. So you saw most of this on our last video, but I just wanted to touch on a couple of the technology features of the A3. First and foremost, obviously, is the Mmi System, which stands for Multimedia Interface, located right here, kind of in the driver's console. and it's connected to this screen which rises up out of the dash. Super cool, very slim, very elegant looking, really high res. I love it. So what this means as far as user operation is you've got these toggles here that let you switch between radio, media, navigation, telephone, that sort of thing, and then these 4 kind of soft buttons that surround the selection wheel. The soft buttons really correspond to the 4 options that you see on the screen in the corners. So it gives you kind of an infinitely variable number of submenus, so to speak. On top of the selection wheel, you actually see this new Audi Touch interface. What it means is that when you're inputting a navigation address or let's say a phone number or something like that, you can actually draw right here and it'll input the letters or numbers as you're drawing them. The reason that that's useful is because you can do this while you're watching the road because your fingers know what the letter A looks like, for example. Now, as far as inputting information into the system goes, the best way to do it, I think, is with the voice system activated by the steering wheel button right here. The voice system can be programmed to your particular accent. So if you've had trouble with voice systems before, where they don't understand your commands, the A3 can actually learn your speech patterns. So it really works very well. It's very, very crisp. Long story short, this thing is packed with more technology than an Audi A8. And one of the things that makes it incredible is the Audi Connect system, meaning that it's internet enabled. Inside the glove box here, you'll see there is a slot for a SIM card and a couple of SD cards and the multimedia port. So basically you pop the SIM card in, you get a 6-month free trial from Audi, and then after that you pay as you go. It basically enables a cellular connection between the car and the internet, which does a couple of things. One, it makes the navigation system way cooler because it now connects you to, let's say, Google Earth or Google Reviews or any of the Google lookup facilities that are possible. So when you basically are going out to a restaurant or something like that and you don't know the address of the restaurant but you know the name, you can ask it to find the address for you and it'll just pull it up and plug it into the system. So another internet-enabled feature is the My Audi account. My Audi is actually something that you use from your PC or your laptop or your tablet. It's a way to log into the system and then program addresses using Google Maps. So let's say you're a realtor or something like that and you have a route with 10 stops on it that you have to make. You can program them all onto basically a Google Maps route and then upload them to the vehicle and then retrieve them from the car so that you can kind of save yourself the programming the long way. So really, to get a feel for the technology, our advice is to come down to the showroom and play with it yourself. In the meantime, let's take this thing out on the road. All right, so here we are in the all-new A3 ready to take a test drive. So let's start with the key. Like I said before, it is a push-button start and stop. So there is actually no key port right here on the steering column. Put your foot on the brake, push and hold, and as you start up the motor, you'll see the display will rise up out of the dash. So, being that we're in a parking garage here, let's go ahead and get started. I want to do some slow speed stuff, but first I'm going to obviously put on my safety belt. Now, safety in the A3 actually starts with the safety belts. It's all about what's called a pre-tensioner. So let's say you're driving down the road and you're about to run into a brick wall. The car figures out when a crash is imminent. It's actually going to snug that seatbelt up a little bit closer so that you're in the right position, and when you go into an airbag, it's not coming out and deploying into your face, but instead catching you on the way in, which is exactly what you want. So let's go ahead and put it in gear and get started. As you can see, this vehicle that I have has the backup camera on it. The sensors in the front give me an audio signal as to how close I am to things, and those orange lines show me precisely where my car will land based on the input that I'm giving to the steering wheel. You can also switch to a graphic mode, which will just kind of give you the whole top-down view of everything that's going around. All right. So one thing I want to point out about the A3, especially here in this kind of parking area, is how easy it is to move around. The steering wheel is incredibly easy at slow speeds. It's very, very light, so it's really simple to put into a parking spot. Backing in, backing out, I mean, the car isn't too long, which is great. It's very easy to see all the way around, so I have really great visibility, and I really like how the backup system gives you kind of just that extra kind of insurance, I suppose you could say, while you're moving the thing around and looking for a place to park. All right, so we're going to jump out on the road here. As you heard, the doors lock themselves when you get up to about 12 miles an hour, I believe it is. Now, this particular A3 is equipped with what's called Audi Presets. So in addition to those pre-tensioners, there's also a basically like a collision intervention system that will let you know when you're about to basically hit something. It'll kind of keep an eye on the car in front of you, and if needed, kind of haul you down to a stop and or stop for you if you're not paying attention, or let's say you're doing something in the car you're not supposed to be doing, like texting on your phone or whatever the case may be. So the interior cabin of the A3 is really quite quiet. I really enjoy how Audi has always put together the materials of their car and the build to be very solid and also be very soundproof. Now, the steering system on the A3 is actually variable, so it will increase its tightness based on your speed. So the steering system on the A3 is variable, meaning that it's very, very light at slow or no speed. By comparison to when you're on the freeway, it actually tightens up so that the car doesn't, change 3 lanes when you make a small steering input. One of the features that I really like about this particular car, being that it has the Sport package, is that it has something called Audi Drive Select. Now, that's located on a button right up here on the dash. And what it does, if you can see in the center information cluster right up here, is it changes the characteristics of the car. This particular mode is auto, so it's going to automatically adapt the throttle input, the steering input, the transmission shift points, kind of all of the driving characteristics of the car. Whereas if I wanted to, I could switch it to a dynamic mode, to an individual mode where I can adjust those things accordingly, or to kind of a comfort mode in which the car is kind of most compliant. Now, what that means is when you have 2 people who share the car, driver A can drive like a Hellcat and driver B can, drive like an old grandmother, and, frankly, everybody gets along. That's really kind of the idea. I really love the braking input on the A3. When you haul it down to a stop, it feels really confident, very smooth, and the braking pressure is applied very evenly. I've been in a lot of cars where you just kind of like tap the brake and it's like it stops right away, as opposed to, kind of easing into the brake and having it give you like that nice good feedback that really gives you the feeling that you're kind of connected to the car. And my one and only wish, speaking of connection to a car, is that this were available in a stick shift. Unfortunately, right now it's not, but that's something that we get to look forward to with the S3. So not sure if you can see this where you're at, but this particular car is equipped with what's called Outasight Assist. That is the small LED lamps that are right here in the side view mirror. When there's a car that's sitting in my blind spot, it'll light up and just kind of let you know, like, hey, someone's right there. And if I go to turn the signal on and somebody is sitting in that blind spot, then it'll flash at me to say, like, hey, pay attention. And it's just in the right line of sight for you to notice, but not be distracted by it. Oh, there it is, right there. So if I wanted to change my signal, see how it flashes, just like that? And speaking of the signal, one of the things that I like is, of course, you can turn it on, but there's also a touch and go mode where you just tap it once and then it flashes 3 times. Kind of convenient, really slick. So as you can see, getting up to freeway speed is absolutely no problem in the 2.0. What I like is the sport mode. The shift lever has a drive and sport kind of selectable system where when you put the car into drive, there's really only one position for the shift knob to go. But then if you pull it back, it'll switch between drive and sport, as opposed to having like notch 1 for drive and notch 2 for sport. So it's just kind of like pull and go. Same thing applies for the kind of Tiptronic mode, where when you want to shift it manually up and down, it shifts over to the right from that same spot, and then it's tap up, tap down. Or you can use the paddle shifters if the car is equipped with the Sport package. So when you want to use the paddle shifters, what's cool is you could be just in drive, no big deal, and then tap, like, say, minus, and it will show you here in the display. It'll say like M5 or M4 or whatever gear that you're in, and then you can shift up or down however you like, and after about maybe 30 or 45 seconds or so, it'll kind of just drop back into a drive mode. So that's really great for like when you want to pass somebody and you just want a little bit of extra power, like instantly. You just tap on minus, it downshifts very quickly, especially because of that dual clutch gearbox, and then you can go, shift back up, kind of hang out. You don't really have to reset the car in any way. So one of the cool design elements about the A3 that I think goes overlooked unless you're really, really paying attention is here in the cluster. So the gauges, like the tachometer and the speedometer, the needles actually start at 0, pointing straight down. Whereas usually on a car, they kind of point off to one side a little bit. I think it reads a little bit better. It's really like, it's such a subtle thing, but starting at 0 at the bottom, like, really kind of just makes natural sense to me. So let's do something that you probably shouldn't be doing in your car, which is entering a navigation address. Usually that's something that demands a lot of attention, where your eyes are kind of stuck on the screen and you're either using some kind of touch interface or some kind of, button combination to enter an address. My favorite way to use the navigation system in the A3 is by using the voice recognition system. So located here on the steering wheel is a voice recognition button, which you can use to give a whole host of commands, not just navigation commands. But I think the system is very intuitive, and it can also be trained to your voice so that it listens very clearly. But let's go ahead and give it a shot so that you can kind of get an idea. Enter address.
Please say the street number, street and city.
28451 Marguerite Parkway, Mission Viejo, California.
.451 Marguerite Parkway, Mission Viejo has been set. Would you like to start route guidance?
Yes.
Start route guidance. The route is being calculated.
And there you go. The thing that I like about how it works is that when I want to give that address command, I don't have to play ping pong with the system. I just tell it one time, I want 28451 Marguerite Parkway, Mission Viejo, California, all in one shot, as opposed to saying, well, what street number do you want? 28451. Okay, well, what's the street name? It's Marguerite Parkway. And that back and forth just takes like kind of forever. So I give it one time, it goes into the system, it thinks, it figures it out, pulls up the address, and I say go. Now, of course, with the Audi Connect system and that internet connectivity, I can do similar things and search for online destinations. So if I didn't know that Audi Mission Viejo was located at 28451 Marguerite Parkway, I could just say, I want to go to Audi Mission Viejo, and then it will, reference the internet, find the address, and say, oh, do you want to go to 28451 Marguerite? And you say yes, and then it programs it and you're on your way. All right, so it looks like we're coming up to a little bit of traffic, which is probably everybody's least favorite thing in an A3. One of the options on this car is actually an advanced cruise control system. This particular car doesn't have it, I'm afraid, but the way that it works is like this. There's a radar that's in the front of the car that basically measures the distance between you and the car in front of you and the relative speed. So as you're driving and you set the cruise control, you say, okay, I want to go 65 miles an hour. When the car in front of you, like let's say this red car, slows down, your car slows down. Now, when that car clears out of the way and it's free to pick up speed again, the A3 will bring it back up to 65. The cool thing is that it'll actually do stop and go. So when you're commuting, let's say to Los Angeles or something like that, and it's just miserable accordion traffic, you can set the cruise control and basically let the car drive on autopilot. It'll check out the distance between you and the car in front and then automatically slow all the way down to a stop and then pick up and go again. So we're going to jump off the freeway here, and since I kind of already know where I am, I'm going to cancel the route guidance using the voice. Cancel route guidance.
Would you like to cancel the route guidance?
Yes.
Canceling route guidance.
Perfect. And if I want to just leave the map system on, I can. No problem. You know, what always sticks out to me about driving the A3 is that it feels like an Audi. It doesn't feel like a cheaper version of an A4, really. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's peppier. It definitely reacts to the road a little bit more as a result of that. Of course, the heavier a sedan is, the more it's going to kind of sit in its suspension, and it's going to be very flowy and very hard to kind of accelerate in any direction, especially like when you're turning around and that sort of thing. But being that the A3 is so kind of light and fun, it's really zippy and very quick, and the steering reacts like really instantly, which is a lot of fun. One of the nice features about the Bluetooth in this car is that it doesn't only do telephone conversations. You can also synchronize your Bluetooth as a media source, so that you can play music off of your iPhone or Android just through the audio system in the car. Now, especially because this has the Bang & Olufsen audio system, it's really worth doing. Sounds super crystal clear, and it comes through really well. The other option, of course, is to use satellite radio, which includes the car comes with a 3-month free subscription, or you can actually upload songs into what's called the Jukebox. So by using an SD card, you can pop it into that glove box slot, and you can basically like upload songs and keep them in the car, if that's what you prefer to do. But me personally, I would probably stream Pandora or iHeartRadio or Spotify, or like just music that's off of my iPod before I did it off of an SD card. But hey, whatever you like to do, right? So we're going to take a little sample of the Quattro system here. I'm going to do a couple of things before we get onto this curvy road. First, I'm going to put the car in sport. And second, I'm going to turn drive select to the dynamic mode so that we get kind of the most feedback from the road. And as you can see, we got a couple of good turns here to try this out. Confident. The whole point of the Quattro system is to make sure that you're stuck to the road. So as soon as you start to lose traction in any direction, that's when the Quattro system kicks in really and delivers power to all 4 of the wheels. And the A3 does not disappoint. It really does feel stuck to the ground. Let's take another spin through these curves here, shall we? What I love about the sport mode is that when you're in sport, the motor doesn't really sound obnoxious. It gives you just the amount of feedback that you need. So like the right amount of sound, and the shift points don't, delay too long so that the motor revs up too high. It's just right, and gives you kind of like the perfect feeling of balance. Now, of course, when you're using the paddle shifters, you can upshift and downshift throughout the corners as you like, or let the sport mode choose for you. It's quite easy. Perfect. And as you can hear, that motor gives you the perfect amount of kind of audio feedback to let you know exactly where you're at. I love how it revs up just to synchronize the shift. It's great. Now, the way that dual clutch gearbox works is that it's a twin clutch system, which means that 2 gears are spinning at the same time. So when you're in first gear and the transmission is spinning, it's also spinning the second gear. And when you ask it to shift, it's almost instantaneous. There's no delay, there's no lag in trying to spin that second gear up. So the transmission shift, it's like fractions of a second instead of like a whole second. And that really makes a difference when you put your foot into the pedal, because it feels like the motor is connected to the wheels and the wheels are connected to the ground all the time, as opposed to, you know, revving up and then slowing down, and then revving up and then slowing down. No, it's really just feels linear, which is great. Also on those downshifts, when you hit like downshift minus here on the paddle, or you know you're controlling it manually, or just in everyday driving, of course, but when the transmission is shifting from, let's say, third to second, it will the A3 will add a little bit of gas just to synchronize the rev, which makes it kind of like hit the sweet spot of the gear that's below. So the downshift is very, very smooth, and you don't feel that kind of like, whoa, like I'm driving fast and then, whoa, the car is really slowing me down. It's very seamless. So that about does it for our little test drive today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments section below. We check in with those pretty regularly and answer everyone that we can. Also, if you'd like to stop by, we're right here on Marguerite Parkway. We're open pretty much till 8 o'clock almost every night but Sunday. Feel free to come in 7 days a week. Our guys are more than happy to take you out for a test drive in the new A3. Thanks very much.